G'day guys, it's Riley here from Kembury Outdoors. I just thought I'd make a little bit of a video today running through some of my rifle setups that I use when I hunt, as we're approaching the sort of winter season of 2026, which tends to be a bit more of an active hunting season for most of us. So I'm usually out there chasing a lot of feral pigs, sometimes the feral deer, here and there, goats, cats, foxes, things like that. But I just thought I might run you through my sort of safe setup. I've got a couple of different rifles for different purposes, and some of you guys might be interested in sort of hearing what I use for what purposes and what I prefer. Alrighty, so one of the rifles that I carry most commonly is my 308. I bought this as a bit of a workhorse rifle. This is a Weatherby Vanguard. I bought it with a laminated stock, blued barrel. And the reason I chose this rifle, it's affordable. I can treat it like a tool without worrying about scratching it, getting it dirty. It does what it's meant to do. Personally, I like the top feed, so I don't like to have a magazine when I'm running and shooting, because I like to be able to feed rounds in while I'm running without dropping any, as opposed to trying to change a mag on the run, dropping it in the grass, losing a $200 magazine. So I bought this. I've just popped a Zerotech Thrive on there, and that is a 3-12. I usually run it at a fairly low power just because I like that big sight image, big sight picture. And as I said, this is chambered in a 308, which I have here. Very common round in Australia. Perfect for pretty much all game. I just run the 150 grains. I find they're perfectly fine for pigs and deer here in Australia. So yes, my Weatherby Vanguard 308, my workhorse rifle. Alrighty guys, next on the menu is probably my pride and joy. This is my Marlin 336 Big Loop. I carry this more than any other rifle. It's just perfect for pigs. A lot of the hunting I do is in very thick scrub up on the mountains. We're in long tussock grass. Very fast rifle, especially with these open sights. Very fast action, very smooth. This one's chambered in, of course, 30-30 Winchester. I usually run the 150 grains, sometimes the 180 grains. Again, perfectly adequate for pigs, which is typically what this rifle is for. It's a bit of a scrub gun. I'm a big fan of it. I've got the short barrel, like I said, the Big Loop. Perfect rifle for the conditions that I hunt in, and I would absolutely recommend one to anybody that is thinking about trying a lever action. I actually want to get a couple more. I can't fault it. Favorite rifle that I own. Alrighty guys, next on the list is my Tikka T3X. I believe it's the Strata Camo or the Wildlands. This is chambered in 300 Winchester Magnum. So for those of you who aren't familiar, that is quite a big round. It's this one here, which is sort of the big brother to the 30-06, which is the big brother to the 308. So quite a big round, not very cheap to run, and thus I bought this as a bit more of a backcountry deer stalking rifle. I don't use this every hunt. It stays in the safe unless it's needed for some of that longer range hunting, or as I said, sort of stalking after some stags or some deer for meat, where I'm only going to need one shot, maybe two shots. It only has a 3-round magazine, which is all it really needs. You don't want to be cycling too many rounds through a barrel when you're running loads like this. They are quite hot. It's got a nice fluted bolt there, stainless, which just helps it save a little bit of weight, cycles quite smoothly when it's dirty or frozen. Fluted Cerakoted barrel, which again, as a bit of a backcountry or overnight rifle, I wanted something a bit more weatherproof. And then I've got a muzzle brake on the end, which just helps a little bit with the recoil when you are shooting a bigger round like this. However, it is deafening. So again, it's not the sort of rifle that you would chase a mob of pigs with. After that first shot, it's like thunder. You are spooking everything in the valley, the next valley over. Possibly the reason for some of my deafness in one of my ears. That muzzle brake obviously does just expel a lot of that force, a lot of those gases sideways, upwards, downwards, to prevent some of that backwards recoil, but it comes at the price of a lot of noise lingering at the shooter rather than being projected forward. On top of this one, I've got a scope to suit the capabilities. I've got a Zerotech Trace, sort of a big target scope. It's a 4.5 to 27. It's got quite a fine reticle. As I said, it's more to, sort of if you can sort of set up and take a longer shot at an animal. It's not something that I carry for snap shooting purposes. But yes, very fond of this rifle. As I said, it's just not the cheapest to run. I wouldn't consider it much of a pig gun. It is more of my deer stalking rifle. Alrighty guys, next rifle is my Tikka T3X CTR, which stands for Compact Tactical Rifle. This one's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. So it has got a slightly longer barrel than the 308. It's stainless. It's got a 10-shot box magazine, which is handy when you're chasing pigs. The only downside to this rifle, it is heavy. It's got that medium weight barrel, so obviously you can run more rounds through it. It'll stay very precise, very accurate. It doesn't heat up as quickly as some of those thinner fluted barrels, but it does come at the cost of added weight, especially with a bigger scope. Now I did have that big trace that I have on the 300 Win Mag. It initially was on this rifle. It was just a very heavy rifle to lug around the mountains. And so, as you saw, when I decided to upgrade to a new workhorse rifle, I went for that 308 and the laminate stock with a smaller scope. As I said, I went the top feed option because, especially when you've only got one magazine, once you run out of rounds, you are just single feeding into the chamber, or you're trying to take it out and juggle it and reload it. You obviously can buy separate magazines. These ones are quite expensive for what they are. And as I said, I'm just not a fan of trying to juggle empty magazines and risk dropping them in the grass when there's a lot going on, when there's pigs running across in front of you. I like to be able to drop rounds straight in and just keep shooting. So I do prefer the top feed for a bolt action rifle as a workhorse gun. But this one is still quite a nice rifle, extremely accurate. As I said, chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. Very capable round. I've used it on pigs, goats, deer. It's worked fine. A little bit pricey, not as many options for your pill, for your slug, in terms of grains and soft points, hollow points, stuff like that, because it was developed obviously as a target round. Obviously that's changing a lot these days. There are a lot more of them around, but it doesn't compare to that 308 in terms of accessibility and different brands, different options. So that's why I changed to the 308. I do still have this one. I have whacked a little Bushnell red dot on it. It is a fun little gun to shoot, cycles very quickly. It's got that big oversized bolt knob, being the tactical rifle. It is a good, fun little gun, especially in this package. Not something I use as much now that I have that 308 and the 30-30. I usually alternate between those two depending on the hunt, but still one that I keep in the safe. Sometimes when I get bored, I just like to mix it up a little bit. Very nice gun. Tikka, always beautiful rifles. As I said, just the weight of that medium weight barrel for the type of hunting I do, not something that I loved. If you were shooting out of the car window, spotlighting, absolutely perfect. Alrighty guys, moving on to the shotguns. This one is the Stoeger Mark III. It is a 10+1 straight pull shotgun. I do like it. It's a great hunting rifle. It's got that long barrel, that large capacity there in the tube. I've just got a glow sight on the end. As I said, it is straight pull, so very fast cycling when you're chasing pigs in the grass. Great sort of tussock grass rifle, just running an open choke for slugs or a bit of buckshot. This one probably will become illegal if they pass the new gun laws. Unfortunately, it is the same rifle that was used, I believe, at the tragedy in Bondi a couple of months ago, which was a horrific thing. Very unfortunate for all of Australia and around the world. But I do believe it was the same rifle, or potentially the Mark II. So it is, yes, it is a fast rifle to operate. I've enjoyed mine for hunting. Terrific little hunting rig, very cheap. Again, sort of tool that you can bash around, not worry about scratching too much. It's just plastic, but it runs well. It's great fun. Probably something I'll have to get rid of soon, but I've had fun while I've owned it, and I do recommend this style of shotgun for hunting as opposed to your over-under. It's definitely very capable. Alrighty guys, my other shotgun here, this is my over-under, obviously in a beautiful timber stock. This is my Moroku MK70 game rifle. So it is sort of a more affordable field gun. It's not as fancy as some of your sort of gold-plated Berettas for sporting shooting, but this one, it's what I chose to grab, just a sort of a basic over-under rifle. I've used it for clays, I've used it for hunting, a great little rabbit gun. I do run quite a tight choke, especially in my first barrel. I've just found that's how I prefer to shoot, especially for rabbits, things like that. But it is a beautiful little gun. Obviously, I don't sort of take it out hunting too much. It is more of a clay gun for the range, or sort of you just messing around in the blackberries with rabbits, foxes, things like that. It is a good bit of fun, but I do try and keep it quite tidy and looked after, just because it has got that beautiful stock on it. It's not something I would be out dragging through the mountains. Alrighty guys, and then last but not least, I have sort of begun my bow hunting journey as of last year. I did go and pick up this beautiful Hoyt AX32 from Bow Hunting Only up in Thornton. They were a terrific help. They set it up for me. It's just got a nice simple package on there, sight, quiver, all that sort of stuff. This one is weighted at 70 pounds, 60 to 70 pound bow, set up at 70 pounds for me. I did put in a bit of practice with it last season. I did take a couple of animals, a couple of goats, deer. I hunted some pigs with it, some rabbits as well. Terrific setup. At the moment, I've just been running the Nexus Infinities, 0.300 diameter. I've got 4 vanes. I think they're the easy vanes. And the broadheads that I was running last season were these Terra Firma Gladius. I haven't made any attempt at resharpening these. I did shoot quite a few rocks and things, unfortunately, with some pass-throughs, but they leave a nice, adequate hole in your animal, and I did see quite some success with that. So yes, that's my my hunting bow setup. That's pretty. Yeah, so that's about it, guys. That's everything that I sort of use throughout my hunting season. As you saw, a couple of different rifles with a couple of different purposes and intentions there. And then, as I said, I've started my bow hunting journey. Very new to that, a lot to learn, but it's been fun so far. Definitely a new skill that I'm willing to put a lot of time and effort into improving. I haven't included any hunting photos in this video just because they're so spread out over recent years. I just can't be bothered digging for them. But if you jump over to my Instagram, Kemba31_31, definitely through my feed there, you'll see pictures from a lot of different trips and a lot of different animals taken, and also some point of view footage where I've started running the GoPro for some of my hunting expeditions. So yeah, if you like this sort of stuff, let me know, reach out, hit me up with any questions. I hope you found that interesting enough. As I said, I'm in Australia. This is what I use for a lot of my hunting. It is mostly pigs, sometimes deer, and then your occasional other ferals, foxes, cats, rabbits, things like that, sometimes goats. But yeah, mainly pig hunting, usually in very dense hills and dense scrub. Thus my favoritism towards my Marlin there and my 308.